All right, here we go. So we'll get started, and then, you know, anybody who wants to watch the video later because they aren't able to come, of course, that's a good opportunity. I'm thankful that Deborah Hardage in that first class had that idea for me, was to record our classes, and that led into having the tutorial type videos. And so I appreciate that. And that, you know, when I say I appreciate y'all's feedback, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It's not just words, because I rely on y'all to be the best instructor that I can be. And I'm always open to trying something new. And I'm not afraid to fail at something, because then I can learn from it and get better. So always remember that any idea you have could be the best one. So believe in something that sparks in your head, and we'll go from there. You know, Miss Faye, you told me about turning around and how helpful that was. And I shouldn't call myself stupid, because I'm not stupid. But when I teach a class, I turn around. So why did I not think to turn around on virtual class? It just never occurred to me to do that. So, you know, anything you say can be helpful. So do we want to do seated today, or do we want to do standing? What is your preference?
Well, I will try standing.
Okay.
And we'll go from there.
Okay.
I was just getting lined up here.
All right, that sounds good. And we always have our chair nearby, so that if we need to rely on our chair for balance, we like to have it close. So we always start walking around the room, opening and closing our hands. Our goal is to just get our bodies warm. Now, I have this nice heater down here in the corner, and it's making me feel like I need to put on pajamas and get a book. I'm so cozy and warm in here now. And it is cold outside. So, but we walk around, opening, closing our hands, pumping our arms, and that just gets our muscles ready to work. If we were to work our muscles when they're cold, then that sets ourselves up for injury. And of course, we don't want injury. I'm so thankful to have that heater. All right, so when we start our warm-up stretches, we first think about body awareness and how we're holding our bodies. So I put my feet about at shoulder width apart. I make sure that I have good posture where I'm standing up straight. You can think about the string that goes up your back to the ceiling, but our shoulders are nice and relaxed too. So we're just holding up the weight of our body stable on 2 feet. By having our legs spread apart a little bit, that helps us feel more stable versus putting our feet close together, and that throws off our center of gravity. So here we're at a more stable stance. So starting with our neck, we come up towards our chin and chest. Push away from our body and follow those hands down. Come back up. Feeling a little stretch in the back of our necks. Let's do one more. Our other neck exercise starts off that same way. But when we come here, we drop one hand and we follow the other as we look towards that shoulder. Feel a little stretch. Come back to the front, switch hands. Side to side. The more you do this movement, the more range of motion you'll have in your neck. because I keep a lot of stiffness in my neck. I just kind of like to stick with this movement a few extra times side to side. So that's true with any of the movements. If it's working for you, you're obviously welcome to do more than just those 3. So next for our shoulders, we roll our shoulders forward. I like to do most things in 3 and roll back, just like a massage you give yourself. Then we have our arm circle where we come up, palms up, and push down in front of us. We can inhale as we come up and exhale as we come down. Now for our spine, let's go to our ball. We're going to separate the heavens and the earth. Push that hand towards the ground, come up, the other goes towards the ceiling. We're pushing in opposite directions, stretching that spine. Come back to our ball and switch. Back to our ball. Notice we keep that soft bend still in our elbows. We don't completely straighten our arms. In terms of breathing, I like to inhale as I gather to that ball and then exhale as I push those hands. So inhale here and exhale. So you can let your breath guide the speed of that movement. Now let's go side to side. We have our ball. We come over just above that thigh, change our hands, come back across, switch, back across.
I gotta call it tired.
It stretches our spine horizontally. Go inside this. All right, now to our lower body, and this is where we get our legs involved. So you can have your chair close by to have that extra support for balance. You can skip the arm movements and hold on to your chair, or you can just give it a try without the chair. So here we have, for our hips, we shift our weight to one leg. We put our heel forward, hands back, and then we bring our hands forward and our toe goes back, almost like a kickstand. And then we come back to center and switch. Back, center. Our hands are back when our foot is forward, and our hands are forward when our foot is back. Come back to center. Now shift the weight to that other leg, and it doesn't matter which, you just do the other one next. But that little kickstand is important because if I were to take my foot and go straight back, then that's really no different than standing with my feet side by side. And that can throw off our balance. Very good.
I get my hands and my feet, and I'm not coordinated to do it simultaneously. I guess, you know, it's like I'm going back when I should be going forward.
That's okay. just slow down and think about it. And before you know it, you won't have to think about it. But when your foot is back, then your hands are forward opposite. So then come to the middle. So see, my hands and my feet are in the middle, and then switch. So my heel is forward and my hands go back. Pause in the middle, and then
How many times now do we do it per side?
my goal is always 3. Now, if you do 4, that's fine. But in Tai Chi, we tend to do things in 3s. So forward and then back, that's 1. And if you feel comfortable, or if you feel more comfortable shifting the weight and then doing 1 on this side, and then coming to center, shifting weight. If you feel more comfortable going side to side like that, then that's not a problem. See, whenever we're doing that movement and we're going forward, and then I call it a leg swing, because to me, it's kind of like dancing, where you're here, here, here. You know, think about if you're dancing. Da, da, da. That is kind of like a leg swing. Or that has a little tap in the middle, but another dance would be here, 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 right? So it's like a leg swing in dance. But if you feel more comfortable switching side to side, then that gives your leg a break from holding your weight. Versus the whole time, your weight's on this leg while this leg is moving, then this leg can tend to get tired. So those are your options with that movement, and you can do either one, what works for you. So are you feeling more coordinated when you slow down?
Yeah. And as you stress, sometimes we do not let it soak in that this is a smooth, slow exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'm not as smooth and slow as I should be.
That's okay. Which I wasn't a real good example showing you the dancey part, but that's what it reminds me of, is when we do that leg swing, it's like dancing, you know, it's like.
And before today, I just couldn't, I wanted to do it all together. I didn't want to do my arms and my foot opposite, you know. In other words, I was trying to stand still and bring my hands out, you know.
Right. Just be patient.
I think straight.
Just be
Anyway.
patient with yourself, because you'll get it. All right. The other one for our hips is shifting weight from this leg to the other leg. And so when we shift the weight, after we remove all the weight from the other leg, we tap it out to the side, bring it back, shift, and tap out. And so that's the footwork, but then the handwork is our hands are stacked and we go in the direction of the weight shift, direction of the weight shift, switch, direction of the weight shift. So here we have shift, tap, back, flip, shift, tap, back, flip, shift, tap, back, flip, side to side. So this one swaps your legs back and forth, so one leg doesn't get tired like in that first one. The goal here is to make sure that your body is upright and not leaning. So even though I'm shifting weight to one side, my body stays upright. My body does not lean with the weight shift. if it were to lean with the weight shift, then it would be like falling, and that goes against what we're trying to do. So the weight shift, tap, switch, weight shift, tap. And this is for your hips warming up.
And see, I start off backwards, and that's what throws me off.
Okay, so what are you doing?
I was, instead of going the way that I should to start, I was doing the opposite. Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
It just kind of goes with that weight shift, like the direction of the weight is the direction of the hands. Switch, direction of the weight is the direction of the hands. And you'll find that in so many different places in Tai Chi where the weight and the hands go together. You know, we talked about in commencement how when our hands go down, that's when we weight shift to that right leg. Weight shift. Now my weight's going to shift to that left leg and my hands go out. So I weight shift and my hands go with the weight shift. Here, open and close. So you'll find that not all the time, but you'll find that throughout Tai Chi, that the movement goes with the weight shift. And if you can practice that and get the movement with the weight shift, then in my experience, I really start to experience that flow of Tai Chi. So when I think about Tai Chi as that life energy, when I'm flowing the energy in the right way, then I experience the benefits of Tai Chi more.
And that is what I'm seeing, but that is not what I'm doing. And that's what, well, I confuse my feet and my hand coordination.
That's very normal whenever you're learning something new, is to feel, look, and be uncoordinated. And it just takes time and practice. So if you remember when you very first started and compare that to even where you are now, don't you feel so much better?
Yes.
So think about if you're going to give it, 2 more months, how much more you'll grow with that. 2 more months, how much more you'll grow. So we want to hurry up and get to the finish line. That's what's ingrained in our heads. But there is no finish line in Tai Chi. There is no perfect Tai Chi. And so that's permission to grow. Where you are, grow from there. There's never going to be a perfect one. So just be patient and keep working on it, and it'll come until one day you're going to go, oh gosh, I just realized that all flowed and I wasn't even thinking about it. That's what practice will do for you. And you've already
see that word flow is where I want to be. I want to flow,
You have it in you and you'll get there because you want it. And so you'll work towards that. So practice that weight shift and the hand movement. Even if you skip the tap, you can skip that tap. That tap out is really to assure that you have shifted all of your weight. So that's what that tap is. So you can experience warming up of your hips by going back and forth, back and forth. So do you feel that flow better whenever you just skip the tap out?
Yeah.
So that feels more flowy than if you stop and tap and back, flip. So, you know, we created more parts to that movement. Tap. Practice the back and forth, and you can feel the flow of that movement.
When do you move your foot? When do you, is it in the, when you get your hands in the center or when you're out to the side?
I tap it once that weight is shifted, and the weight is finished shifting when I get here, and then I tap out. Flip, shift. There's the, that's my frame right here. I stop right there. Then I tap out, bring it back, flip my hands, shift the weight, tap out, bring it back, flip, shift, tap, 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 back, flip. Did you feel the flow of it, breaking it down
Yes.
like that?
Yeah, and it just, I think I wanted to be in a hurry and do it all, you know, not break it down like it should be. I wanted to hurry up and do it, and I was not getting the coordination that I needed.
Well, I think that you're wanting to flow because you know that that's what Tai Chi is that fluid movement, and you want that. But sometimes in the beginning when we're learning it, it is more choppy. It's not as fluid. And so that's why breaking it down and chopping it up can be helpful, so that you say shift, tap, back, flip. That's real choppy. I'm doing the movements, but it's choppy. But now I can not think of it as choppy and start to flow. But when we learn, we got to learn all those little bitty parts. So whenever we're doing waving hands in clouds, it's the perfect other example of whenever we, let me turn around. So we step, switch, wave, shift, step, switch, wave, shift, step, switch, wave, shift, step, switch, wave. So that's broken up, that's real choppy, and you practice those chopped up parts enough, and before you know it, you'll be going so in my head, I'm saying those words of wave, shift, step, switch, wave. I'm saying the words in my head. And then after you say them in your head for a while, then your body knows it without thinking too much about it. So then you're going. So when I do waving hands in clouds, just me personally, when I'm waving, I'm shifting, versus when we break it up, we wave, shift, step, switch, wave, shift. So instead of shifting after the wave, to make it more flowy, what you do later, you're not probably ready for that yet, and that's okay. I'm just giving you a fast forward in how Tai Chi progresses. It may take you 2 years before you're there, and that's okay. But here, I'm shifting the weight as I wave, stepping as I switch, shifting as I wave, stepping as I switch, shifting as I wave, stepping as I switch. So see, that's more fluid of a motion. And look, it's more fluid. It's quote more Tai Chi, but I could never do this right out of the box. I have to learn all the parts of the movement before I can flow them together. So that's why I mean about the progression. So with your hip warm up, you can practice that shift back and forth. You can practice that, the flow as you're shifting the weight. My feet probably should be a little closer together. Shift, shift, shift. So you can experience the flow. And then you can start here, tap, here, tap, here, tap.
I get my hands and my feet confused. I'm not using the right and the left at the right time. I mean, my feet right or left, or, you know, I'm just not coordinating the move.
That's okay. Just break it down and work towards it and you'll get there. So just don't get upset with yourself to not have it perfect. Just shift the weight. Even if you forget the hand movements. Let's say you just do the foot part. Forget hands. My hands aren't going to do anything. So I'm going to shift, tap, back, shift. I like to hold my hands on my legs for some reason. Shift. So if I have my hands on my legs, or if I'm holding my chair, see that fluidness? I'm back, tap, back, shift, tap. Even if you're just doing that movement, you can feel more fluid just doing the legs. You can just do the hands. Here, here, here. So nothing's happening with my legs. I'm just going back and forth with my hands. Never discount any kind of movement that's flowy with your breath, because if you're breathing and you have that flow movement, whether it's this one, whether it's the waving hands and clouds one, whether it's the shoulder circle, whether it's the open, close, doing any kind of those hand movements with breath, with that deep breathing, can help reduce stress, help reduce anxiety, can help your blood flow through your body, which can help so many things, can help strengthen your lungs. You know, a lot of people have been sick in their lungs because of COVID, and they have, maybe they've had to do breathing treatments. They're trying to get their lungs stronger. Simply breathing and adding that hand movement can give you benefits of Tai Chi. So, I mean, I've said it about breaking down the movements and just taking what that movement has to offer you. And if you're getting overwhelmed by trying to put it all together, stop and break it down. Stop and do just one part of it, because the last thing Tai Chi is meant to do is to overwhelm. So you always have permission to break it down and just do part of it. Pick out the parts that are best going to serve you. So remember, when we do this movement seated, we talked about how much we liked that movement. And when we are seated and we, let me get up in my chair a little bit, lay that knee open, and that opens up that hip joint. This is the seated version of that movement we've been working on today, where we shift the weight and tap the foot out. Here's the hand movement, opposite of the leg, which sometimes I get it wrong. I want to move my hands with my leg. To me, that makes sense. But the hands go with the weight shift, and the weight shift happens when I push that foot into the floor. Maybe that's too much. So just simply laying that knee to the side and opening up that hip joint is going to help stretch that hip flexor. So in my experience, yes, here we're warming up that hip. We're doing those that hip warm up stretch. That's good, but then this is good in addition. So I feel like it would be beneficial to do both of them whenever you're going through your warm-ups. Now, that first hip movement where we put the heel forward and the toe back at the kickstand kind of placement, the seated version is simply put the heel back and bring it back to seated position. So it's not doing a whole lot different or more than the standing version, but this movement right here to me is extremely beneficial to those hip flexors. For people who are seated a lot, you get really tight in your hips and tight in your hamstrings. So any stretching that you can do for those muscles can help you with mobility, and sometimes it can help keep you from having back pain. So just keep that in mind whenever you do that. The movement for your hip is to try it seated and lay that knee to the side and experience the stretch of that hip flexor. All right, so are we ready to move on to knees? So we have loose fist down here at my hips. I shift the weight, I lift, tap out that toe and punch, back, shift, lift, tap and punch. I like to keep my foot close to the ground, although you can lift it higher if you feel more comfortable. We're just warming up that knee. It also helps warm up your hip as you shift the weight from one leg to the other. So when we punch out, we still keep that soft bend in our arm. We don't completely straighten it out. We're really not punching anything or anybody. And then our other knee exercise, we actually step out. I'm going to shift the weight to that front leg, shift and punch, and come back. And remember, we keep that back foot on the floor. So we shift, step, shift and punch, come back, feet side by side. Shift, step, heel, toe, shift and punch, and back, side by side. Shift, step, shift and punch, back, side by side.
And see, I'm forgetting to step. You know, after you shift, I forget to step.
What you mean? Whenever you You said when you shift, you forget to step. So
Well, after, yeah,
step, okay,
yeah,
now shift,
yeah.
back, and then feet side by side. So
And
remember,
sit,
tiny little step.
okay,
So you see my heel and my toe are kind of in the same line. It's a real small step. I'm not making a big leap out here. It's just a tiny step, a little shift weight, leaving that foot on the floor, shift it back so I can bring that foot side by side. Shift, step, shift, back, side by side. And of course, the punch is opposite of the foot that you step out with. Shift, step, punch, back. It stays upright. Remember, I'm not leaning into that punch.
well, really, all we're doing is just making that one move. When you say shift, we're really at our beginning.
When I say what now?
Shift,
Shift. Now step.
yeah,
Shift to that front leg.
and punch.
Shift it back. And then side by side. So shift, step, shift and punch, shift back, feet side by side.
The shift that you're saying is where you're putting the weight in the beginning. I mean, when you're starting that movement.
Uh-huh.
So,
When you start the movement, or before you start a movement, you're here and your weight is on both legs. So in order to start, you have to shift, step, shift and punch, shift back, and then bring that foot back together. Because obviously, if I have weight on a leg, I can't lift it off the floor. I have to remove the weight from that foot in order to step or in order to move it. So here I have weight on both legs. I shift to one side so I can step. Then I shift forward. Then I shift back so that I can bring up my foot back side by side. So does that answer your question?
it's clear, yes,
Okay.
it's clear.
Very good.
I was confusing the stand still with the shift. I was not comprehending that the shift is kind of like the weight.
Yeah.
You're putting the weight on whichever side, opposite side.
That's right. So you're shifting the weight to whichever side, and it doesn't matter which side you start with because you're going to do the other side next. Shift, step, shift, back, side by side. And now whenever I step, okay, when I shift to that front leg here, there's still a little bit of weight on that back leg. I'm not completely shifting all my weight to that front foot. That's a safety thing for me. That just makes me feel the most safe, is to still keep some weight on that foot. The majority of it is on that front foot as I shift and then back. I find, and you may be different, I find that if I were to shift all of my weight to that front foot, it's when this heel starts coming off the ground. When that heel comes off the ground, that's when my body starts falling forward, and that we're against falling. So I keep that. It's most important that that foot stays flat on the ground as I shift forward, So I keep a little weight on that back foot so that my foot is grounded and I don't fall. Is that helpful?
Yeah,
Okay, very
Yeah.
good. So, it's just a lot of parts to that movement with our hips, and now these with our knees, where we're shifting, step, shift as I punch, shift back, feet side by side. Shift, step, shift and punch, shift back, side by side. All right, any other questions about our knee warm-ups?
no, ma'am,
Ma'am?
no, ma'am.
Okay. The last one we have is for our ankles, and that's where we shift our weight and then go heel, toe, heel, toe. We're just rocking that foot, heel, toe, and then shift, heel, toe, heel, toe. Shifting that weight, heel, toe. And then we shift our weight again and we do big toe, little toe, big toe, little toe. So we're going side to side with our foot. And then the other foot, big toe, or little toe, big toe. So that warms up our body heel to toe. Now, all that we do before we actually get to commencement, single whip, waving hands and clouds, we do all that every time before. So you might think, oh, warm up isn't really important. We do it every single time. I'm not doing anything unless I get through that into the movements. But because the warm-ups have all the principles of Tai Chi built into them with the slow, smooth, continuous part of our movement control, you can add in that gentle resistance. We have our upright posture. We have the weight transference. Because we have the principles of Tai Chi built in our warm-ups, you can spend your time doing those warm-ups and you've done Tai Chi. So if you never feel like you mastered, waving hands in clouds or commencement, if those movements, if you're not there yet, know that you can practice our warm-ups and get the benefits of Tai Chi, okay? So sometimes people think, oh, if I don't know all 72 moves, then I'm not really doing anything. But that's not true, because with all those warm-ups, you're following the principles of Tai Chi. And if you follow the principles, you get the benefits of Tai Chi. All right,
I want to tell you, when I went to the doctor in August, I believe it was, and I was having a lot of trouble. I was anemic, and, just from one thing to another. That's why I'm doing the carotid artery. That's why I'm going to a endocrinologist. That's why anyway, I was looking back at some of my printouts just yesterday. And during our conversation back in August, Dr. Dasher said something about Tai Chi. Get involved in Tai Chi. And when I saw your thing in the paper, I thought, wow, look how God works, But
right.
anyway, when I went last month for just to follow up, I told him that I was doing the Tai Chi, and oh, he just started clapping. He said, "Man, you are." I mean, I've known him that we used to go to church together, and then they moved over to Statesboro. But anyway, he was an encouragement. But when I saw your name in the paper, I was more encouraged.
Well, good. Please share with him my information so that he can give it to others. And,
Oh, yeah.
you know, if this virtual format can help somebody else, I'm happy to have another class. Sometimes it takes your doctor saying, hey, try Tai Chi, and hey, here's a lady you can call. I have another patient that has been helped by, you know, taking this class. And, you know, that's how word of mouth is like the best advertising that you can possibly get.
Well, I've been going to tell you that, and I would forget each time. But thank you, and I definitely will. I won't see him until, I don't know, April or May, but
Where is he located?
Statesboro.
Statesboro. Okay. I just wondered if he was in our area.
No, he's in Statesboro. But as I've noticed, you have folks from different areas,
Yes,
you know, and if you do this, it would be good for those even that he might recommend too. But
yeah.
But I've been going to tell you that I just didn't remember.
That's okay. Thank you for sharing. I've tried my best to get into doctors' offices and give them referral programs to refer their patients to my class. And I've just never had success, even with my own doctor. So it's always frustrating to get your foot in the door and get people to refer to the services that can be helpful to them. So it feels like we're so close to making that connection with doctors. And so, of course, I'll be around and I'll keep doing Tai Chi for all these years. I plan to continue to do it even after I retire, because I love it and I believe in it.
Well, that's great. And I really never thought about the benefits of it, health-wise,
Right.
the health benefit. And I'm still, as you have warned me, it's not going to happen overnight, but I still up here am so encouraged.
Good. Well, I've had a lot of students look at me and say, like, I don't look like you. Well, I've been doing Tai Chi for a long time, and I've done a lot of Tai Chi. So in the beginning, I didn't look like this either. A matter of fact, one of my former students, she was probably in my very first class, or one of them anyway. She said that she sure enjoyed Tai Chi class when she took it. And I said, oh, I wish you'd sign up again, because I've learned so much since I started teaching it. And I feel like I'm so much better of an instructor now, because it takes time to build the understanding through practice and experience of the movement. So you just have to be patient with it. And we're not naturally a patient people. And we definitely don't live in a patient world.
And see, that's where I'm not going to say I'm different, but in a sense, I am different. I am a patient person.
Well, good.
And I don't know if I'm patient at the right time, or if I'm focusing on being patient at the time that I'm being patient. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Confusion, but it does. But I have benefited from the times that we have connected. And you you said you asked her to sign up again. Well, how many times can we sign up?
You can keep signing up. I'm in my third session at the Anytime Fitness in Baxley, and the same people just keep coming, and we keep doing the same moves. We just learn it better and learn it differently. And that's the journey of Tai Chi. So there's no real ending to it as long as the interest is there.
Well, and that's good to know, because that question might come up to me, you know, with some of these ladies.
Now,
But
I have, whenever I do a quote class, my classes are 16 weeks. So in order for me to get credit for doing a class, it has to last 16 weeks, or once a week for 16 weeks, or twice a week for 8 weeks. I can do it like that. I just do once a week for 16 weeks. So
what we're doing now, we're doing the once a week for 16 weeks, correct?
that's correct. And this week is week 12. Which the recording may say week 11, because remember, we had that very first week where we were just really making sure the computers were working. So technically it's week 13, but also technically it's week 12.
We've really followed your instructions for 12.
Yes. So, I mean, the first class counts, but I will do the full 16 to have 16 recordings of class. And then
Okay.
that's when we'll start the one in Claxton, and that will start
Well,
with.
that leads me to ask now, when you do the one in Claxton, are those going to be recorded like we're doing now?
I didn't plan on it. Do you think that is a need, or do you think it's necessary?
Well, it could be helpful
Okay.
for those that are staying home all the time. If they want to refer to it, you know, from week to week, it could see, just like I said, if I wake up during the night and can't sleep, I'll watch you.
Well, what we could do is have a virtual option. So I could go, just like I'm live right now, we can be, and I'm in Baxley at my office. When we go to Claxton, there may be 10 of you in person, but I can bring my laptop and I can go live virtual. So maybe there are people at home that want to join in on the class from home. So I can do that and then record it and then send that out to everybody, whether you were in class or at home taking the class. And that's called hybrid virtual. And so we're allowed to do it that way too. And actually the state would probably love that.
Well, if we did that, then does that mean you might have more students than what is in person?
We'll just have to play it by ear and see. But I'm open to doing it. Like I said, I've been doing it long enough to handle it. The virtual is new to me, but the Tai Chi isn't. So we'll just play it by ear. And you know, just like on Friday, how you and I had a special time to meet. So we came together on Friday. I'm always open to doing stuff like that. I'm typically in the office on Mondays and Fridays. And so I can do that from my office very easily. So I'm flexible with the in-person and the virtual.
Well, the reason I was asking about the number, and I was throwing Sarah in there. See, we have this little group of us from church too, and there's 6 or 8 of those.
Mhm.
And I don't want them to find out that, we're doing the class with my school class group. If they wanted to be a part of it, that's why I was asking what options would be virtual or adding them in that class. I'm not gonna say anything to them that I shouldn't say.
Put it out. Put it out there to them. They can come on that first day, whether that it will be virtual or whether they come in person. If they're interested in doing it virtual, then just like we did, we'll want to do a special time where we can make sure that you know how to sign into Zoom. If they want to do virtual to the what I always call the intro class or the 0 session class, if they just want to come and see what it's all about before they make a decision, you're welcome to invite whoever to that.
Okay, another thing, for those that go virtual that do not have an iPad, now is that going to be an option like it is with me, or are they required to get an iPad?
No, it will be an option. I have 10 tablets. And so if I needed more, I can probably order more. But at this time, I have 10 tablets that I can lend out.
Okay. So when we finish this class and we start into that one, then am I going to be able to continue to use this with you when we're not in class?
Yes, ma'am.
Or
As long as you'll use the tablet for Tai Chi, then you're free to use it. When you're done with doing Tai Chi, then you'll just return it back to me.
okay, I didn't know if I need to bring it when we meet or, but because and I'm not going to mention any of this tablet wise or whatever, this virtual stuff. I'm going to let you do all that.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll do that. Just have them come to that first intro session, and then we'll go from there.
And you have not gotten the concrete date, right?
I have February the 22nd as a start date. That's a Tuesday. What time did we say? Did we say 1?
Well, you said it would be after lunch, so you give us the time.
Does 1 work, or does 1:30 sound better? Do you want to ask, or do you want to just go ahead and set it?
Well, let me ask if 1 or 1:30, because a couple of 3 of them still have husbands and they might need to get through, their meal.
Well,
but,
if we needed to do 2 o'clock, I could do 2. I wouldn't want to do anything later than 2, but if I needed to, I can.
Yeah, and I wouldn't either.
Just because I like to get back to Baxley before 5 o'clock.
Yeah. Okay, I'll talk to them about the 1 or 1:30, and then we'll just leave the 2 in case we need to move over to that. But I won't suggest 2.
Okay.
I will say 1 or 1:30.
Okay.
And I want to tell you something. Have you got time for me to tell you?
Yes, ma'am.
I had a hysterectomy back in 86, thereabout. And I went to Doctor's Hospital in Augusta. A friend recommended this doctor. And when I got there, when it was time for surgery, I went into room 222. And I don't know why 222 has been a number visible to me in many, many areas at many times. I can look at the clock and it'll be 2:22. Or I can go along somewhere and I'll see 2:22. And when you said February 22, I told my girlfriends, I said, okay, now if that's the date that God has assigned for me to go home to him, just know I love you. So we're gonna see that day.
Well, that day is-
is that weird?
That day is extra special because we're in the year of 22. So that day will be 2/2/2/2/2.
That's what I was telling, well, just earlier this week, Sunday or Monday, I was telling one of the friends, I said, look at the twos in this year and especially in February. So you just remember to say a prayer now. If it's that day, y'all be up here for me, okay?
We sure will. And I have the same thing with the time 937. That was my grandmother's area code. She lived in Ohio. And I can't tell you how many times in my life I have seen the time 937. And I always think of my grandmother. She's passed away now, but 937. How many times I look at the clock and it'll be 937.
And maybe I need to try to think a little more at, now what is this 222 meaning to me? Somebody said go play the lottery, but anyway, when you said February 22,
Mm-hmm.
that's the date a friend and I were talking about. It was just on Sunday. And I said, whoa, this is weird. But anyway, all the days are God's days. So we're just, we won't disagree with what his plan may be.
That's right. So that's what we'll shoot towards, and you pass that on to your group and see if they're receptive to it. And then let me know, if 1:30 or 2 o'clock, whatever time you think will be the best.
Well, okay, now you're gonna have the morning session.
Mhm.
Is that gonna give you time to have lunch?
Yes, ma'am.
If it's 1
It will.
or 1:30, I just wanna give you time.
Yes, ma'am. I'll have enough time.
Okay,
1 may be pushing it, so 1:30 or 2 may be the better choices.
okay, well, I'll get back with you because one of the girls has already called while we were talking. But I mean, while we were doing our class, but anyway, I've enjoyed it and I'm gonna get myself put together and get on the road.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, well, let's finish with our strength. That's our fist, and our friendship, and our humility, and in mutual respect, we say namaste.
And see, honey, mine won't bend. That's why I try really hard, my
That's
thumbs
okay.
don't bend. But thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good day and be careful, Miss Faye, and I'll see you soon, okay?
Okay, so Tuesday, if not before.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.